Okay guys, my name is Hector, my surname is Hlungwani. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. Okay guys, today I am teaching a history, Vietnam essay, and then it's an extension of Cold War. This essay guys is the most of simplest essays in grade 12. It's the most interesting essay that you must master. In your final exam, what I am going to teach you now, you will come across it. Okay, this thing it's easy. Without wasting a lot of time, Vietnam was divided into two. Vietnam was divided into two. There was a north and a south. At the north, there was Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh was popular. Ho Chi Minh was wanted by everyone. Ho Chi Minh was a communist. Ho Chi Minh wanted to unite both north and the south. At the south, there was Diem. Diem was unpopular, Diem was corrupt, Diem was brutal. Diem didn't want to unite both north and the south. And at the south, there was a small group called Viet Cong. Viet Cong was having 100,000 members. That was the problem of Diem, because of Viet Cong wanted to unite both north and the south under the umbrella of Diem. USA got involved. Now we must understand, why did USA got involved in a war? The reason that USA got involved in a war is because of USA wanted to contain the spread of communism, because communism was spreading faster than a capitalist, and capitalist was supported by USA, and communism was supported by Russia. So I want you to understand this thing very well. The reason why USA got involved in a war, it wanted to stop the evil of communism. And the other thing, it was all about domino theory. When we talk about domino theory, we are talking about countries that they are using power more than leading. It was all about domino theory, whereby USA was aware that China and Russia, they were supporting communists, and if ever Vietnam will become a communist country, even the neighboring countries will also become communist. I'm sure you understand why did USA got involved in a war. Secondly, USA, what did they do to help Diem or help South Vietnam? What did they do? Number one, they helped Diem with military advisors. They sent military advisors to the south. Number two, Americans gave Diem a lot of money and modern weapons. Number three, by November 1963, Johnson became a new president and he sent 16 military advisors. Diem, he was still unpopular. Why? Because he was corrupt. Just imagine, after the work that USA did, giving Diem money, giving him modern weapons, but still, Diem was unpopular, which is Viet Cong was defeating USA, was defeating, communism was defeating capitalist. You understand? Which is USA was failing to fight against Vietnam. Number three, the thing that we must look at. Okay, number one, we described what kind of leaders they were, Ho Chi Minh and Diem. Number two, we explained why did America got involved in a war. Number three, what did America do to help Diem? Number four, how did Johnson escalate the war after 1963? After he was voted, how did he escalate the war? How did he continue with the war? Number one, he first continued to send military advisors to the south. Number two, Johnson decided to increase American involvement in the war. Number four, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, when USA ships were alleged attacked by North. Johnson asked for many to fight against Vietnam, which is there was allegations saying that North Vietnam attacked the ship of USA. So President Johnson asked for many soldiers to go and fight the North Vietnam. Johnson, he told the US soldiers to bomb the North Vietnam, which is USA started to bomb North Vietnam, which is they were bombing North Vietnam. That's the USA. That's how President Johnson escalated the war. Other point that you can put, Johnson, he told the US troops to quickly defeat the Viet Cong, which is they were fighting Viet Cong. And Viet Cong was strong, was a strong group. By 1968, don't forget, Johnson was voted to be a president in 1963. And then 1968, there was about 500,000 US troops in the South Vietnam. Wow, guys. Like, Johnson wanted to end, like, he wanted to defeat Vietnam because USA, it's a powerful country. USA, it's a superpower country. It's a superpower. So he kept on sending the troops in the USA. Just imagine, he got involved in the war 1963. By 1968, he sent 500,000 troops in the South Vietnam. Now we are talking about how did Vietnam or the North Vietnam try to fight back against the USA or the Americans. That's where they used the guerrilla tactics. Guerrilla tactics managed to defeat the big country like USA. Number one, what did they do? Guerrilla tactics. I mean Viet Cong tactics, the small group that they used to defeat USA. Number one, they used anti-aircraft guns. Number two, they used air missiles. You must write this down. They used anti-aircraft guns. Number two, they used air missiles. Number three, they used fighter planes. By using those three things, guys, they did an amazing thing. By using those three things, over 1,400 of US planes, over 1,400 of US planes were shot down between 1965 and 1968. This is interesting, guys. I believe that you are going to pass your final examination if ever you will take what I'm telling you, because you will remember me. You will remember me. Okay, guys, let us continue. Now we are talking about a guerrilla warfare. How did the Vietnams use the guerrilla warfare? Number one, they were avoiding face-to-face fights. Number two, fighting in a small unit. They use ambush. Ambush means a surprise attack whereby they waited until a USA be gathered in the same place, and then they will come, they will show up unexpected and then start killing the USA soldiers. Number four, Vietnam, they know their side country, which is Anisho. This war was happening in Vietnam. So they were familiar about their countryside. They know how to use. They were familiar with their forest. Number five, they did not wear a uniform, which is they were not wearing a uniform, which is USA didn't see who are they fighting with, because Vietnam soldiers were not wearing a uniform. Number six, the Viet Congs or the North Vietnam, they dug 250 kilometers of tunnel to hide in, and that tunnel was containing kitchens, weapon store, and hospitals, and living quarters. Wow, guys, this thing is so interesting. I believe that you are writing notes. You will pass your final examination. There's no way, as long as you have this information, there's no way that you are going to fail. There's no way that you are going to fail. I believe in you guys. God may bless you. The other, after digging 250 kilometer of tunnels to hide in, and that tunnel was containing kitchens, hospitals, and army stores and living quarters. What else did they do, Viet Cong? Viet Cong guerrillas were helped by local people, which is local people were helping Viet Cong, which is even people who are in the south. They were starting to join Viet Cong, which is they were helped by Viet Cong. And then the other thing that Viet Cong used to defeat USA didn't win against Viet Cong. Viet Cong used booby traps, land miles planted. They were planting land miles. So Vietnam managed to defeat the big country like USA, but we are not done yet. What method of fighting did Americans use? Now we want to know, what method did Americans use to fight Viet Cong? Because now we know that Viet Cong used guerrilla tactics, avoiding face-to-face fighting in a small unity, doing the land mines and so forth and so on. Now we are focusing on how and on what method did America use to fight against Vietnam. Number one, they fought in a high tech, which is they were using a high technology to fight Vietnam. Number two, they were using B-52 bomber planes. Number three, they were using helicopters. Number four, they were using chemical warfares. Number five, they also used the search and destroy operation. They were using Operation Rolling Thunder, which is they were bombing everything. They were using Operation Rolling Thunder. And then now we will focus on what was Operation Rolling Thunder and why was it began. We have to know what is an Operation Rolling Thunder. Operation Rolling Thunder, it's when Americans were bombing on the North Vietnam military and industrial targets. Number two, Americans were bombing bridges, army brackets, railways, roads, and army depots. The aim of bombing North Vietnam, it was to end the support from North Vietnam to Viet Cong. But the policy changed. The US began Suncheration bombing. They started Suncheration bombing, whereby they were bombing everything that is inside. What is meant by search and destroy? The American army was sent to go and search and kill the Viet Cong that they could find. That's a search and destroy. USA army went to the villages to search and kill the Viet Cong. Search and destroy was brutally. Why? Because US soldiers were so afraid and angry that their friends were killed by Viet Cong. The US Army High Command measured the success or the failure of search and destroy by the body count, meaning that USA soldiers were measuring whether did search and destroy win or not by the body count, which is they were taking all of the Vietnam people who were killed, Vietnam soldiers. Viet Cong soldiers who were killed, and then try to count how many people did we kill today. That's how they measured the failure and the success of search and destroy. Helicopters were used during search and destroy, and helicopters were used to carry troops, arms, and supplies. To their surprise, Viet Cong was still in existence and was very strong. So, guys, you must know that USA did not win in the Viet Cong. USA did not win in Vietnam. The strategies of USA was a dismal failure. Did not win. So you must make sure that you have this content. Don't lose the content of the essay. All right. In 1965, selective bombing was carried out during Operation Rolling Thunder, but as the war interfered, this was replaced by Centurion bombing, which is Operation Rolling Thunder was replaced by a saturation bombing, whereby meaning dropping bombs on everything 3 times as much as explosive was dropped on Vietnam. You understand? So which is, guys, they were bombing everything. And how are you going to win a war whereby when you bomb everything, you even bomb your soldiers? They were bombing everything. They were even bombing their members. Why? Because of Vietnam was using guerrilla warfare. They were using guerrilla warfare, which is America. They were not knowing who are they fighting to, because they were not even wearing their uniform. But Viet Cong made a little mistake by changing guerrilla tactics, and then they went to Viet Cong came up with a Tet Offensive. That was a dismal failure for Viet Cong. That's the mistake that they made, but at the end they managed to win against America. Viet Cong, they started a Tet Offensive in 31 January 1968. Years are important in history. You must make sure that you are taking notes, guys, so that you can pass your exam. There's no way that you are going to fail. We are here to help the nation. We are here to help the nation. So, guys, like, subscribe, and share. Tet Offensive, it was an attack by the Viet Cong. It was a different from guerrilla fighting they has used before. It was different from guerrilla tactics that they has used before, and was a surprise attack. This thing of Tet Offensive, which is they wanted to fight. They stopped that thing of fighting in a small unity. They avoided a face-to-face fight. They are no longer doing that now. They wanted to fight Vietnam, America, a big country like America, straight. So which is, it was a fail for Viet Cong for this battle, not the war. Vietnam won the war at the end. We are going there. Okay, what we will do, Viet Cong, they expected people to join them, but the uprising they hoped for did not happen. They expecting people to join that, let us go and fight USA face to face, but people did not join, because at the guerrilla warfare or at the guerrilla tactics, people joined Viet Cong. On this thing of Tet Offensive, over 100,000 people were killed during the battle. It was the Viet Congs. What was the effect of the Tet Offensive? The results of Tet Offensive. Okay, the results of Tet Offensive. The Tet Offensive was a huge failure for the Viet Cong. 47% of people were killed during the Tet Offensive. And Tet Offensive was a success for the Americans. Means Americans have won the battle, not the war, the battle. This battle, they won it. Don't be lost. America didn't win the war. Did not win the war. Okay, Viet Cong, they asked for peace talk from the South Vietnam to peace talks soon after the Tet Offensive ended. They asked for a peace to a South Vietnam. Don't forget that group called Viet Cong was living in the South Vietnam. So it asked for a peace from the South, which is they were asking peace from Diem. So guys, don't be misled. This thing is so easy. Viet Cong never recovered from the step back of Tet Offensive. The Tet Offensive was a huge turning point. Number one, you must write these things down. Number one was a major reason why Americans turned back against the war. Number two, before the Tet Offensive, the Americans has been quite confident and relaxed about the war. Before the Tet Offensive. Number three, the U.S. media gave the Americans back home the impression that the war would end soon. Number four, when the news of Tet appeared, many Americans felt that they had to deceived. Number five, Viet Cong troops were shown inside the U.S. ambush in Saigon. which looks like Viet Cong had defeated American army. Johnson decided to give up for standing as a president, and then Richard Nixon promised to end the war, and he was elected as a president. That's where there was My Lai massacre. My Lai massacre, it happened on 16 March 1968. USA used 9 helicopters. They used troops were searching. I mean, the US troops were searching My Ali believed to be a Viet Cong stronghold. Over two period, the Americans killed hundreds of men, women, and children. Lieutenant Seeley was convicted of war crimes. He served 3 years of his sentence. And then the other point, we are ending this essay, it's almost done. The other point that we can put pictures of the massacre were shown around the world and people were appealed. It was another reason why Americans turned back against the war. That's the essay, guys. If you have what I just shared with you now, there's no way that you can fail your examination. You are going to pass your examination. I'm expecting you to get 47 out of 50. Now let us take the previous question papers. This is prelim last year, 2022 question paper. It was set in this way: the extension of Cold War case study Vietnam, the tactics and strategies that the United States of America used between 1963 and 1975 against the Viet Cong during the war in Vietnam was a dismal failure. Do you agree with the statement? Use evidence to support your line of argument. Yes, I do agree that the strategies, the tactics and the strategies that United States of America used in 1963 and 1975 against the Viet Cong during the war in Vietnam was a dismal failure, because America did not manage to defeat Vietnam. Number two, Vietnam used guerrilla tactics to defeat America, and then you start to explain. At the north, Vietnam was divided into two. There was north and the south. At the north there was At the north there was Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh was popular. Ho Chi Minh was wanted by everyone. Ho Chi Minh wanted to unite both north and the south. Ho Chi Minh was a communist, and at the south there was Diem. Diem was corrupt. Diem was brutally. Diem was unpopular. Diem did not wanted to unite both north and the south. And then at the south there was a Viet Cong group called Viet Cong. That was the problem of Diem. In that way, you are writing your essay. You are putting points in your essay. USA got involved in a war because of they wanted to stop the evil of communism. They wanted to contain the spread of communism. They wanted to end communism, and they were aware, or they knew that Americans, Russia and China were supporting communism, and the problem was domino theory. Domino theory, they were aware that if ever Vietnam will become a communist, even the neighboring countries will also become communist. There's another question paper here. I have its history 2022 November. This is the last year paper. 2022 November, paper 1, grade 12 history. Okay, let us go to the question. What does the question says? The United States of America lost the war in Vietnam 1962 to 1975 due to unconventional strategies of guerrilla warfare and environmental factors on the battlefield. Do you agree with the statement? Use relevant evidence. Wow, guys, this is the same thing. Yes, I do agree with the statement that says United States lost the war in Vietnam in 1962 to the 1975 due to unconventional strategies of guerrilla warfare and environmental factors on the battlefield. Because don't forget that I said Vietnam was familiar with their countryside. They knew their countryside. That's where they started to use the land miles, you understand, to defeat to defeat America. So guys, I hope every one of you will pass your examination. Guys, don't doubt this. Go and learn this. We are helping the nation. We are helping the nation. We are helping the nation. I believe that you can be like me one day. You can pass history the way I passed history. There is nothing hard. Just be yourself. Read the notes, read the notes, read the notes, read the notes. Make them enter here. They will enter. There is no one who is dumb in this world. There is no one. Just tell yourself that you can do this.